You know, it's funny how sometimes you look back at like old interviews, old clips,
Hmm.
and they just feel totally different now, knowing what we know.
Oh, absolutely. Moments that seemed, I don't know, awkward
Or
maybe.
even funny. And now they have this really eerie feel, chilling almost.
Yeah, it's like you're seeing it with completely new eyes, isn't it? The context changes
No,
everything.
exactly. And that's really what this deep dive is all about. We're going to unpack some of those moments using this video compilation you shared.
Right.
The idea is to see how hindsight really shifts how we see things, and maybe what signs might have been hiding there all along.
And this is really tailored for you listening just to get straight to the core of these surprising insights from the material.
We'll cover quite a range: actors, musicians, hosts.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that came out later, I mean, it's disturbing. Abuse, harassment, predatory behavior mentioned in the sources. It's heavy.
It is. Let's start with Bill Cosby. The material points to a CNN interview back in 1991. He was promoting a book.
And he tells this story about Spanish fly. Remember that?
Vaguely. He describes it as something boys, like from age 11, basically forever, would look for.
And the way he describes the old story,
Yeah.
it's pretty specific.
Yeah, he says, if you took a little drop, it was on the head of a pin, drop it in Coca-Cola, the girl would drink it and she's yours.
Wow.
And then you think about what we know now.
Right, the dozens of sexual assault allegations, many involving underage girls, and many claiming he drugged them first.
So looking back at that interview, the source material frames it as him just casually explaining exactly what he was accused of doing.
It lands very differently now.
Makes you really think about how things are perceived in the moment versus later. Okay, moving to Melissa Benoist.
Right, the Fallon interview, 2016.
Yeah, she told the story about an accident, like a really specific one. Going down steps, slipped, hit her eye.
On a potted plant. Yeah, I remember that.
But then the material shows 3 years later on Instagram, she reveals the truth.
That she's a survivor of domestic violence, intimate partner violence.
And that Fallon story was completely made up. A cover.
And the details she shared on Instagram, which the source highlights, they're harrowing. The first time, he threw a smoothie at her face,
God.
smashed her cheek, exploded everywhere. And her first thought was, the couch.
Worrying about the couch, yeah. Before realizing it was all over her, her cheek throbbing.
And she talks about consciously deluding herself, thinking forgiveness would fix him.
And she points out, you know, that Hollywood abuse stuff didn't really blow up until around 2017, even though...
It was an open secret. That term comes up a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads into this next point from the material, these warnings that maybe weren't fully heard.
Like Courtney Love, 2005, on a red carpet.
Someone asks her advice for a young actress moving to Hollywood.
And her answer. Wow. She says, I'll get over that. Harvey Winston invites you to a private party in the Four Seasons.
Pretty direct, even if slightly coded. And the source notes she later said she wasn't a victim herself, but...
She got banned from the industry for saying it.
Yeah.
Basically blacklisted.
For telling a truth that people weren't ready to hear, I guess.
And then there's Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
In 2013, giving this really stark warning.
To parents, right. Parents of kids wanting to get into acting.
Yeah. He says the people who harmed him and Corey Haim, they're still working, still out there.
And these aren't just small players. He says that they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
The interviewer asks him straight up, according to the source,
No.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
And his answer.
Yes. Just yes. And that they're still in the business.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Absolutely chilling. Okay, let's shift to Puff Diddy. The source presents some older interviews that, looking back now...
It's going to show signs, right, of the predatory behavior that's now come out more publicly.
Like that Conan O'Brien interview. He's listing ingredients for a killer party.
Starts normal enough. Alcohols.
Oh, but then it gets weird. Gotta keep him there. And locks on the doors.
Yeah, Conan even jumps in like, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
And Diddy's explanation for why he wants lots of heat, no AC.
It's about the alcohol, right? Makes people loose, comfortable, builds a sweat.
Conan calls it disgusting.
And Diddy's reply is just, depends on the way you look at it. Says it gets kind of sexy.
It's really uncomfortable. Then there's that clip with a young Justin Bieber.
Oh, right. Where he's talking about his life with Diddy and suddenly gets cut off.
Yeah, Bieber says, he got me a Lamborghini. I haven't gotten it yet, though. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
And the voiceover in the source material kind of interprets that moment.
Says, Diddy only had the car for a day or two. Bieber had access to the house. But the implication is...
He knows better than be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. Like, keep quiet.
Suggests a layer of secrecy, maybe control.
And even way back in '99, the source quotes Diddy making this weird prediction about his parties.
Like, they won't even give me a permit. They don't want me to throw the parties no more.
They could hear about my parties. They're going to be shutting them down. They're going to probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time.
It sounds almost like foreshadowing, given everything now. And the source mentions there's even more footage later, including a secret video from 2020 parties.
Yeah, it suggests this stuff might have been going on for a long, long time, maybe just under the surface.
Makes you really reevaluate things that might have just seemed like, I don't know, typical celebrity talk back then.
Totally. Okay, Chris D'Elia is another one of the material covers.
2020. Accusations of sexual harassment, predatory behavior.
Soliciting photos from underage girls on Snapchat.
And the material brings up this podcast clip from before the news broke.
Yeah, where he and the co-hosts are talking about a teacher sending inappropriate pictures to students. Hypothetical.
But D'Elia's comments, hearing them now is rough. He says things like, why does she have her students snapped? Yeah, well, that's weird. Yeah. Let me see her body do if I'm 15 and this history teacher sends me those tips.
Oof. And then there's this moment the source points out, where he seems to clock that Snapchat stuff can be saved. Screen records, screenshots.
And the voiceover says, it was at this moment that panic set in on Chris's face.
You kind of see this flicker, maybe, and then he ends with, some people do some crazy shit.
Yeah, it's really unsettling with hindsight.
The material also looks at Ellen DeGeneres. Frames her as maybe a bully, using persuasive tactics.
And it focuses on that Mariah Carey interview about pregnancy rumors.
Mariah looks so uncomfortable, visibly.
And Ellen just backs her into a corner, offers her champagne.
The implication being, if you don't drink, you must be pregnant.
Yeah, Ellen says, this is peer pressure. You see what Ellen is doing? This is peer pressure. No, let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we should.
And when Mariah still won't drink, Ellen just blurts out, oh my goodness, you're pregnant. You're pregnant.
And the really awful context the material provides.
Mariah had struggled with infertility. Openly.
So that whole exchange, Mariah asking for vodka. Instead, Ellen saying, I'm not trying alcohol. I'm trying to put you on the spot. It's just hard to watch.
Using someone's potential pain for a TV moment. Not great.
Not great at all.
No.
Okay, R. Kelly. The material reminds us of his sentencing.
Yeah, 30 years. Racketeering, sex trafficking, plus more time for child pornography charges.
And it digs up an old interview where he's asked point blank if he likes teenage girls.
And his answer is just evasive. Extremely careful.
He's like, when you say teenage, how are we talking girls who are teenagers, 19 and younger? I have some 19-year-old friends, but I don't like anybody illegal, if that's what we're talking about, underage.
So he's dodging, right. But the source suggests that by being so careful to stay just on the legal side of 19 in his answer.
He kind of reveals where his interest lies, right up to that line, which, given everything else, is incredibly creepy.
Yeah, revealed more than he meant to, probably.
Then there's Danny Masterson, convicted in 2023, right? Assaulting 2 women.
Sentenced 30 years to life. And the material brings back that Conan clip from 2004.
Where his friend teases him with that really weird phrase.
Hi, my name is Danny Masterson. Would you like to touch my balls?
Yeah.
Just bizarre.
And Conan's reaction is instant. Why are you asking people to do that? That's the more important question.
Good question. And this clip and others apparently resurfaced, especially after Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis defended Masterson.
And the material adds another disturbing layer from that era about Ashton and Danny making bets.
Yeah, bets on kissing young actresses on set.
Like specific bets. $10 if you French kiss her. A side bet on a first kiss.
And then there's that quote attributed to Ashton Kutcher about a 15-year-old Hilary Duff.
Saying, she's one of the girls that we're all waiting for to turn 18, along with the Olsen twist.
Which just puts that whole betting thing in a really, really gross context.
Absolutely. Okay, next up, Anthony Kiedis. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
1991 interview, where he really pushes things with a reporter, Kennedy from MTV.
She's clearly refusing his advances, but he just keeps going, grabs her arm.
Kisses her. On live TV.
And you can see her discomfort. She's saying things like, oh, God, all right, this is a little kiss. And people are watching this. You're making me blush.
She actually ends the interview because of it. Said,
yeah.
Stop it. Okay, we're going to end this interview now because you're causing big trouble.
And Kiedis' response is so strange. He says something like, I was just repeating the question. I was just waiting my whole life to do that, to end an interview because fans have misbehaved and you've given me the absolute opportunity.
Like he was trying to provoke her into ending it. It's weird.
The source then says this incident, while bad, was not quite as bad as the next case.
Right, which it calls borderline sexual harassment unfolded on live TV, 2009.
This involves Sandra Bullock, interviewed for The Proposal,
Which had that scene where she's partly nude.
and the reporter,
Yeah.
who the source context identifies later as Matt Lauer, seems way too focused on that.
Yeah, making comments like, I have now seen you naked.
Asking if were you able to sleep afterwards, and saying, it's now my screensaver.
Sandra Bullock looks so uncomfortable. Says something like, I'm so sorry about that. Looks down.
And when he tries to bring it up again, she just shuts it down. Not after this interview, I'm out of here.
And again, the later context is everything. Multiple women came forward about Lauer.
Led to his firing. The source quotes that NBC News memo about a colleague's complaint detailing inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace
Yes,
by Matt
sister.
Lauer.
And it even includes that Katie Couric comment from 2012, asked about Lauer's most annoying habit.